Good morning. We are live on YouTube. We're going to bring in our Facebook groups, Atlanta Falcons fans on all Falcons, and Scott Kennedy Sports as well. We'll get those going. We'll have that big sip of coffee, that first sip of coffee this morning. And good morning, everybody. We are live. This is a bonus edition of the Falcons Podcast, a Tuesday morning edition. We said we'd see you Wednesday, but goodness gracious, Nick, I don't think we had any idea what the Atlanta Falcons were going to pull off in the first 24 hours of the contact period. I refuse to call it legal tampering. I'm calling it the contact period of free agency and hoping it catches on. And then, we're getting ready to come talk. Let's I messaged you yesterday. I'm like, let's do a pod on Tuesday morning. We'll talk about it. So I wake up to more news. Taylor Heinicke signing his quarterback. It makes a lot of sense, Nick. What's your gut reaction to Taylor Heinicke and the Atlanta Falcons?
Solidifying the room, adding a backup with a little bit of playmaking and athleticism to his game doesn't keep the Falcons from pursuing Lamar Jackson or drafting a quarterback as well, in my opinion. I haven't seen the numbers yet, so I guess that could change my opinion on that as well, but I view Taylor Heinicke as a backup for sure, so I would not include...
It's high-end backup money at $10 million per.
Okay, well, it also makes me think that maybe Ritter could be flipped in a move that includes Lamar Jackson. So, especially given his cheapness, but I still wouldn't let it keep me from evaluating the quarterbacks here this cycle. And you solidify the room a little bit more. You raise the floor. I mean, it's just that's one of those kind of moves.
It seems to me, and this could, hindsight could prove this could be completely wrong to me, but Tom Pelissero comes out and says, Desmond Ritter is the starter. This is high-end backup money for Taylor Heinicke. Okay, so they're backing now Desmond Ritter as the starter, which they haven't really said, and they're leaking that to Pelissero. Arthur Smith hasn't flat out come out and said anything. He won't make predictions like that. But as the stream's opening up, appreciate y'all coming in and hitting the like button and everything. So for me, I actually put it in writing. I said, this should end any speculation about Lamar Jackson to the Falcons. I guess it doesn't necessarily do that. I don't want to talk about Lamar Jackson today, though.
Yeah, we got enough others.
I'm until something happens, I'm putting that off. Yeah. I think Lamar Jackson to the Falcons is dead and dusted. I do. I think it's Desmond Ritter and Taylor Heinicke. And that is a very good quarterback room to have. You've got a good quality starting quarterback with experience who can mentor and learn and help teach while he's good. He's a good athlete. He's a really good runner, Nick.
Yeah, he's good
to run that system if you need it, if there's something that doesn't quite work. I think it's an excellent pickup for the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, I think it's a good one as well, especially if you are in on Desmond Ritter. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out for them at the quarterback position. I also think that the Falcons were linked to trying to trade up to the number 1 overall pick, and obviously that did not come
linked
to fruition.
By who? The Bears?
Maybe reports coming out of the combine, but kind of the team like the Raiders also that once you didn't get up there, you kind of said to yourself, "Oh, well, we're probably not going to get the quarterback that we were interested in this cycle. We'll have to go elsewhere and make a move." So I again be perfectly comfortable with Desmond Ritter, but not to the point where you have horse blinders on to the other quarterback avenues and possibilities.
Yeah, I like you said, I think it gives you the luxury of not having to overspend. You've got $11 million in your quarterback room right now. That's still dirt cheap, which lets you go out and do things like make all these signings, which we'll get into momentarily. Now that the chat's opened up a little bit and reached some of y'all in the Facebook world and in YouTube world, I want to say good morning to some folks, including Michael Ranquillo, always with us this morning. Michael, good morning. And Michael says that was a great signing on Taylor Heinicke, among others that we'll get into over the course of the next 20 minutes or so. Mike Gibbons says, good morning. Good morning, Mike. Appreciate you being here. Michael Ranquillo says the Atlanta Falcons and Denver Broncos are winners of the first day of NFL free agency. I think the Bears had a pretty good day as well. Those are the big ones that really came to mind. And I saw conflicting reports. Did Aaron Rodgers to the Jets actually happen? It hasn't happened yet, has it? No, it's
not official.
Okay. I didn't think it was official. That's going to be a big move for the Jets if and when that comes through. Big Al says, good morning. He is very happy. He says, what a great day yesterday for the Falcons fans. I love it. I think of this as an historic day. Yesterday was an historic day for the Atlanta Falcons. In soccer and international football, you call the spine of your team right up the middle You go striker, center mid, center defense, goalie. That's right up the middle. That's the spine of your team. The defense yesterday went defensive tackle, linebacker, safety. The spine of your team, right up the middle for the Atlanta Falcons, is all, and let's get ready to salute, major upgrades. With David Onyemata, Kaden Elliss, a high upside linebacker who can get after the quarterback. His 7 sacks last year for the Saints and 11 starts would have led the Falcons from an inside linebacker position, which tells me he's got the versatility to move around in a bunch of different spots at 6'4" and 240 pounds. And then obviously Jessie Bates might be, him and Onyemata are kind of the big tickets. I'm not sure which is which. I don't care. I don't care who you say is the bigger one. That's huge. 26 years old, just turned 26, 6 years in the league, up and coming. He's going to spend his prime years as an Atlanta Falcon.
Yeah, all good signings. I'm not as familiar with the linebacker who came in and got Ellis. Obviously, you mentioned the sacks number, saw that as well. The pressures were also great. So if you're trying to be a team that's going to be a little bit aggressive or use some simulated pressures up front or anything like that, just to get Scott rolling this morning, then that's interesting. Obviously, you have some familiarity with the defensive coordinator now in Atlanta. Is it Nielsen or Nelson?
It's Nielsen. It's Ryann Nielsen.
Ryann Nielsen. Familiarity there. So, and then my favorite signing is probably the Onyemata one, just because this team really needs defensive line help. You're still hunting for edge, but you added a no doubt starting piece to that front to help that unit out, which is a great thing for a Falcons defensive front that has been woeful the last half decade.
Ryan Adonis, very active on the comment section. Appreciate you coming in live today too, Ryan. He says, "Hey Scott, A+ on all signings. I say we get a right tackle in the draft. Who do you see at number 8 now with the new signings?" All right, I've got to look this guy's name up again because I was thinking yesterday, and I almost feel bad about it. So I hope that person is here. I don't think it was Roderick, but maybe someone came in. One of our regulars came in and you said Jalen Mayfield at right tackle. And we really kind of poo-pooed that. We're like, no way. And I'm like, all right, well, what if it was, offensive line coach, and I can never remember his name, and I need to get a tattoo of this guy's name. Dwayne Ledford. Okay. So let's say Jalen Mayfield, who was drafted as a right tackle, was put in an emergency left guard, who only had 14 starts at Michigan, got a redshirt year last year. If he is scheduled to be the right tackle, they'll bring in competition, of course, but if he ends up being the right tackle and it works, I'm starting a petition to build a statue for Dwayne Ledford because he's the best damn offensive line coach in the history of this game. Which is crazier, that Caleb McGarry would take that leap last year, or that Jalen Mayfield could be a serviceable right tackle in the NFL? I think the latter is still more far-fetched.
Yeah, based on what we saw from Jalen Mayfield. Also coming out of Michigan, I thought he was going to end up in guard, just his profile suggested guard. So
he was drafted as a mauler. Like, this is a guy who should be a mauling. Oh, well, that's a guard. He's a guard.
Yeah.
Well, he wasn't a good guard, but he's 20 years old when he came into the league.
And he still might have a chance to end up being a solid guard on that rookie contract is what you're looking for. But right tackle, I think you're still looking for a right tackle. Caleb McGarry's still out there, and you guys got money to spend. I mean, the fact that I didn't hear anything yesterday from him. McGlinchey gets, 17.5 per season. How about Jawan Taylor, Scott? I knew I was big on him. I was like, oh, he should be there, but betting on upside there, I guess, moving him to left tackle at $20 million per. I mean, he's a great athlete. He's got great length, and he's 2.5 years younger than McGarry and McGlinchey. So I guess that matters. But McGarry's still out there. I would hope that he'd bring back McGarry just yet. He works in the scheme. Maybe that first wave of free agency, he didn't find the deal that he wanted. I mean, I've said it on here 100 times. Atlanta did everything they could to keep him from pure drop back pass protection looks last season, which is a red flag in my book. But keep him going forward in this scheme. I think it's probably best for both parties. Maybe even get him on like a 1-year kind of prove it deal. Say do it again. Give him big guarantees.
That would be the franchise tag.
Yeah, but less than the franchise tag.
I know, but how much less? When you're talking about a $2 million risk or something, maybe give him $13 million. We'll see. We'll see. Yeah. McGarry was great last year, and I was as harsh on McGarry as anybody that isn't a Twitter crazy person. Someone that actually would have to look McGarry in the eye one day and say, "Listen, I didn't think you played very well." I mean, for someone that could actually be held accountable, I was as harsh on him as anybody. He was great last year. He was. What about, left guard is still kind of an opening too. Mayfield, that's what he played he played as a rookie, redshirted last year. Eli Wilkinson's still there as a free agent. I'll tell you what, just for our Broncos fans on there, and we'll get more into this on Broncos for Breakfast, but it tells me a lot of what the Denver Broncos thought of Dalton Risner when they were willing to spend big on the guard position and not on him. I don't want Dalton Risner to be linked with the Falcons at left guard either.
Yeah, so it's a big day yesterday. Obviously, talking about guys still out there. The first big move yesterday, though, was the Falcons announcing a 7th round pick to the New England Patriots for former Arthur Smith tight end Jonnu Smith. Jonnu Smith signed a monster contract to go to the Patriots, and what a monumental failure that signing was for the New England Patriots. I think over the last 3 years, he had 52 receptions. 52 receptions.
It was 2 years. Yeah,
2 years.
He signed a 4-year deal. It was there 2 years, and he barely cracked 500 yards. I think was about where he was.
Just horrible for them. But you're only 7th round pick. If it doesn't work out, you release him, and there's no dead cap, I believe, in that situation. So this is a great deal for the Falcons. Gives them another weapon that they can utilize in the heavy formations. 21 personnel, 12 personnel. Jonnu Smith can be moved around. I think this is a deal that good teams make, and teams that have extra financial capital and have a vision for a specific scheme they're running.
It says on Spot Rack, so I'm not sure why he would be some of his guaranteed, unless his base salary was guaranteed and not part of a bonus. But it says it's a $6.6 million dead cap.
Wow!
But at $11 million with a $12 million option with zero dead cap, he screams restructure to me.
Yeah,
we'll pay you the $6 million that we are owed. We'll sign you to a 2-year deal for $10 million. So I still think that Jonnu Smith is up for a restructure, and that was part of the discussion before you make that trade. But he is a good blocker. So I some of the, what does this mean for Kyle Pitts? And I didn't see too much of the panicking around of like, is he hurt? Is he going to be back? In time? Yes. If this affects anybody, it's going to be Michael Pruitt. Michael Pruitt is somebody I want to be back to be in competition with Jonnu Smith for that second tight end. He played great last year. And he was coming off an injury and played very well. So that went big on my Facebook page. The trade, you get the Patriots in there and the Falcons. So on Atlanta Falcons fans, and there's some people, a lot of the Patriots fans are saying, thank God. Well, that's fine. I don't care how he played in with New England. He played well in Tennessee. That's why he got a $50 million contract. Let's see if he can become that guy under Arthur Smith again and become a positive player. And you're right, Nick. This is a kind of move you can make when you've got some financial flexibility.
Yeah, exactly. So great move.
Back to Ryan. Yep. Where do you go at 8 now? Let's say it's not McGarry. Do you have to go right tackle here?
Right tackle is one of the 3 positions. Right now it's edge, cornerback, right tackle. And that's what it was before yesterday too. I mean, I think we had the show yesterday. Like, what are you looking, Nick? Well, cornerback and edge, obviously those make sense given the positions, how valuable they are, what they get paid on the market, the needs on this Falcons roster, but also offensive line. Keep the strength. You're locking up on me a little bit. I can pick that up a little bit.
I don't want it to be right tackle, but if it's not McGarry, it probably should be. But again, I don't see any way a rookie right tackle come in and play as well as McGarry did last year. So you're using your number 8 pick and not improving the team, right away for the 2023 season. I don't want to see that. I want to see a guy that comes in and improves the team. So I'd like to see McGarry come back, and I'd like to see that spot used on edge or corner. And, I think, Big Al says Gonzalez at number 8. That makes sense. I'd be happy there. I'd love for them to be in love with an edge like Lucas Van Ness. Could be in that spot, would be someone could watch too. Big Al says, as a longtime Falcons fan, I've not seen free agency signing day like this. Me neither. There's been every once in a while, there's been some splash signings, but nothing like this. And Nick, we promised you, as I was doom and glooming this team the last 2 years, that the offseason in 2023 was going to be fun. Falcons have delivered, man. They have delivered already.
Yeah, they have. And we got RC Plane Builder saying, welcome Taylor Heinicke, welcome home Awesome. Good to see RC playing builder. Also see our
He's
guy Joe
from,
Cannon's in the house.
I forgot. Taylor Heinicke's from Gwinnett County, I think, like Grayson High School or somewhere right in there. So he's from right around here. I'd forgotten that, RC. So appreciate the recall on that. Kevin Fitzpatrick says, "Good morning, fellas. It's fun being a Falcons fan again. Hey, if you can't win in the season, let's win the off season." No, I think it is very fun. And Mark Schrader coming in says, "Good morning, guys." And Mark's coming in with some stars for us. So thank you, Mark.
Thanks.
Love you for it. Hope you're doing okay. Jeremy Sean jumping in. We all thought. I've already forgotten what we were talking about on that one. I missed the reference. We usually get those, but I've already forgotten what I was saying 5 minutes ago. And Joe Cannon says, "Great morning, Scott. Great moves by the Falcons, including, I think the second move after tight end was an extension for Chris Lindstrom, making him the highest paid guard if it were to kick in. Someone may sign a new contract because it's an extension. His contract doesn't kick in until after this year. So his contract is still cap neutral for 2023. And then he's got a 5-year extension. So he's on for 6 more years. Chris Lindstrom. He's under contract. Great signing. I mean,
yeah,
he's everything you want when you draft a guy. He's been that guy, and then you reward him. I think he was our Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee. He's great in the community. Just absolutely love it. Him and Cordero Patterson might be my 2 favorite Falcons on this team.
Yeah, I hope that we start to see some Chris Lindstrom jerseys out there in the Falcons community. I mean, offensive linemen don't get the love, but Lindstrom is arguably the best guard in football, and he's paid like it now. You just got a little bit more guarantees and per year than Quentin Nelson, and good for him. I mean, he's 25 years old. He's incredible. Was voted All-Pro by a number of outlets last season, so he's amazing. And to get that done, I mean, it was never a question. It was never a question of if it would happen. It was how much and when. And glad to see that we passed that because he should be a Falcon for the next 10 years, honestly, but 6 years makes sense.
Dirk Lawrence coming in says, "Good morning, rise up." I don't know if I can say the other one. I can get 2 out of those 3. I'm on board with you, Dirk. I have trouble with the one in the middle though. And go Blues. That's a Chelsea guy right there too. So we can we can watch sports like most of the time, maybe not all the time. Actually, I spent so much time working college football that even though I went to Auburn, one of my best contacts at Alabama was Kirby Smart. Alabama got so many guys that I had ranked highly that I wanted them to succeed because I root for me. You know, when I say Julio Jones and Andre Smith are number 1 at their positions, I want them to be number 1 at their positions, et cetera, et cetera. But Dirk, love you. Come on in. And thanks for being here. And Mark, again, flashing those stars. John Pope says, "Morning, boys." It's a great day to be a Falcons fan. It's not very often that Falcons fans get to say that. This is one of those where it feels pretty good. And I think with Ryan Adonis, I think I said in the comments, like I said, y'all hit the comments if you watch this after the fact. I'm going to jump in all the time. Ryan Adonis, I think I said back to him, isn't it nice when the administration does the obvious, you know, and doesn't try and outsmart everybody? I felt like Dan Reeves was like that. It's like, no, we're not going to take this big ass kicking defensive end from Alabama or LSU. We're going to go get this guy that ran a 4.3 at Wichita, Northwestern Texas State that nobody's ever heard of just to show you how smart we are. Oh, yeah, he busted. It was obvious what the Falcons need, Nick, and they've gone and done it. That's fun. It's fun, isn't it, John?
It is fun. It's still some avenues to improve the team. We keep talking about, we'll have plenty of time to talk about the draft. But, yeah, I mean, my favorite signing was probably the Onyemata one, like I've talked about, just getting that space heater up front. He was a little bit more of a down year in 2022, but I think you can credit that to the Saints in general kind of being down last season.
But their defense was still good. I mean, they still had a top 5 defense, so maybe they're picking on him and other people are feasting. He was still part of a very good unit.
And he's a really good player. Really versatile, great against the run, and gets you something solid there in the middle. He can be a linchpin piece for that defensive front that you can build off. And who should be just over the moon about that signing is Grady Jarrett. I mean, getting a running mate on the inside that can take some pressure off of him, eat some bodies, to just get him some better chances to shoot gaps. I mean, You still got to work on those edges. But as far as Grady Jarrett goes in that interior defensive line, I mean, now you also don't have to rush back Graham. You can kind of slow play him a little bit just to see what happens with him. I think that's a great signing. I'm biased though. You're going to hear me talk about in the Broncos one for a bit. Hey, Nick, what was your favorite signing? The defensive lineman. But that's I think it was a good one for them, and was somebody that obviously we linked to them for a bit. I was a little bit not disappointed, but I was like, seeing Marcus Davenport go for 1 year, $13 million to the Vikings. I was like, that would have been nice on that Falcons front. But getting, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name right now. The defensive tackle from New Orleans was
David
a good get.
Onyemata?
Onyemata. Yes, Onyemata. I was like, oh my God, I don't have it in front of me. So can't have too many tabs open, Scott. Otherwise my computer will crash on me while I'm waiting
for a new computer today, I hope.
Yeah, come on, Chad. Let me know when it's coming in. But yeah, Onyemata, great signing for them. And probably the biggest one is the safety we haven't even talked about much yet. But let's say Joe Can. Yes, I know Jessie Bates. Wake Forest, I think. Let's
hit Joe real quick. Have we heard anything on Elijah Wilkerson? Nothing. I haven't heard anything. He's just someone I've been advocating for. He played on $1 million and was a solid, even if he was just average NFL starter, that was leaps and bounds. And that's not what you're necessarily expecting from a converted right tackle playing left guard for the first time. To be able to get middle of the road, average NFL starter play at left guard meant he was pretty darn good next to him. So haven't heard anything yet. He was banged up a little bit towards the end of the season, so we'll see how that affects him. John says, I think Broderick Jones can do what McGarry does and more. Maybe, but not right away. I have a really hard time picturing any rookie coming in and playing as well as Caleb McGarry did for the Falcons last year. I don't care who it is, short of Orlando Pace or Tony Baselli.
I can think of a few over the last few years that maybe could, but they're not in this class, and you're not going to get a chance at them. Tristan Wirfs, Penny Sewell, yeah, maybe.
Penny Sewell wasn't as good as a rookie as McGarry was last year.
We might have to agree to disagree on that one a little bit, just because of how much McGarry was protected.
Yeah. Sewell, but
I know you love Sewell.
Well, you know how I felt about Penny Sewell. I wanted him at 4. If it wasn't my options for 4 when we took Kyle Pitts in Atlanta was
Justin Fields.
Was trade down, Justin Fields, trade down, Penny Sewell. Those were my top 4. How do you guys feel as Falcons fans so far? I'll let the chat kind of handle that one. I think Falcons fans should be damn excited. And that's what I've kind of said about this ownership. I kind of consider it an age test, Nick, when people start complaining about Arthur Blank, the Falcons owner. I'm like, y'all didn't live through the Smiths. The Rankin Smith era was a piggy bank to be drawn money away from. No investment in the team, no investment in the facilities, the fan experience, nothing. If Arthur Blank has had a fault, it's by trusting some of his lieutenants too much and wasting his money. He gets the right people involved. Arthur Blank is one of the best owners in this game. He will invest in this team, and you've seen it. You've seen it now that they've gotten a chance to get out from under some of those Thomas Dimitroff contracts. This is the first time, and now we'll see how they've done. But I'm really happy with the signings, including Onyemata. We talked Lindstrom extension. Now let's talk Jessie Bates again, Nick. What is Jessie? I think Cynthia Freeland, I think her last name is. She did like a top 5 free agents and who they would be the best fits with, period, based on analytics. Like she did a WAR factor on it, wins against replacement. And Jessie Bates was top 5 to the Atlanta Falcons and how much of an impact he would make. This is a big one. Not for, as a captain of the backside of that defense to go along. AJ Terrell's a great player, but he's kind of on the quieter side. You want your safety to be that real leader back there.
Yeah, he's one of the top 5, 6 safeties in the NFL, and he got paid like it. What was the 4th biggest safety contract ever? I would not put him in the Justin Simmons, Minkah Fitzpatrick tier myself, but he is right there, and he could be there after a season. I mean, really just, flipping it up. He did a lot in that Lou A defense on that backside. It allowed a lot of versatility in the coverages for Cincinnati, and he is a big, long, versatile player. If you want to play free safety, standalone canopy, he can do it. If you want him to come down and play the box or play the alley, he can do it. I don't think you're going to see him play drop down and play man coverage in the slot very much, but yeah, I think he's one of the most talented young safeties in football. And the Falcons defense, by him being there, is going to be tremendously better on that secondary. Still need to probably figure out, again, you're only as good as your pass rush and corners, in my opinion. So this is a big signing for a non-premium position, but you got a very plus player there that should help this defense and raise them by, what would you say the Falcons were last year? Bottom 8 defense?
I think they ended up lower than that when it came to yardage and points. They were okay at points for a while, then kind of squandered a little bit at the end. They were tough. They didn't have the players.
Yeah.
If you
don't have the horses, then what can you do?
Have the players that, I went through their defense, last year in a tweet on how they all were acquired. And there's like 4 practice squad guys, Titans cut, Bears cut, etc. We got just a couple more minutes before we've got to go over to Mile High Huddle. So those of you that are coming in, I know that the Facebook groups find you a little late. Come leave me comments. I'll check them out for sure. Because this is an exciting day for, an exciting week for Falcons fans. But who would you take right now for the Falcons between Gonzalez at corner and Van Ness at edge if you're the Falcons? Let's say the draft started tomorrow, free agency's done. So no, you can't use let's see what happens the rest of free agency. Free agency's done. The draft is now. Right tackle is sorted. Let's say that part. Right tackle sorted. You've got to pick. You're going to pick between these two. Who's it going to be?
I'm a huge Iowa guy. Lucas Van Ness is great. I think Christian Gonzalez is a slightly better prospect. So I'd probably go with him. I think you also can probably still find a pretty damn good edge rusher round 2 this class. Granted, you can find a great cornerback too, but I like Christian Gonzalez probably slightly more. I think he's more versatile and I think a safer prospect than Lucas Van Ness, which is a little bit more projection with him. So I probably lean Christian Gonzalez, but this is a hard one.
And I'd probably go the other way just because I like the pass rusher that the Falcons haven't had in so many years that I'm really intrigued with a 6'5", 270-pound guy that's running the 4.5s with athleticism and length. The scary part of that is does he become Jamal Anderson, the bad one, not the good one, who was had a similar profile, but I think this guy's got a better motor than Jamal Anderson did coming out. I would probably go because I still want that fire-breathing edge, that number 1 out there who you've got to watch and then turn Heinicke loose on the backside. D'Angelo Malone, the speed guy on the backside. I would still probably go Van Ness, but either way, I would be thrilled with the Falcons to be able to get an edge or corner right here like this. And Jason asked about Brisset because he says, I would love to have McGarry sorted and then go with an edge or maybe even Brisset at defensive tackle out of Clemson. If he's your best guy, then yes. But right now, I think the Onyemata signing takes Brisset kind of not off the board, obviously, but moves him down a little bit. If I've got 3 guys equal, I'm going with a bigger need right now at a premium position, which would be edge or corner.
Yeah, the only defensive tackle that I'm considering at 8, assuming the character stuff checks out, is Jalen Carter. I think Brisset is going to be picked closer to your 2nd round pick than he is to pick 8 overall.
Yeah, he's fallen. He has fallen a little bit. So, maybe he sneaks down to 2 and you grab him there.
Yeah.
Dave says, good morning. Do the Falcons bring back Chuma Edoga to play left guard? He played well in his 1 start last season. I think Chuma is a decent backup number 8 on your roster for offensive linemen. I'd bring Wilkinson back before I'd bring back Chuma Edoga, though. I know Edoga battled injuries, but I would probably bring back I would probably go Wilkerson. I've already forgotten his name. Eli Wilkinson first before I would go Edoga. He was always so hurt, Dave. It was tough to get a real good handle on him, and I don't want the guys that are hurt anymore. And Candler says, we signed Taylor. We started with Taylor Heinicke. Now you got Wilkinson, Tyler, Taylor. The coffee's kicking in. I'm getting all confused here. But Taylor Heinicke, yes, very good signing, about 10 per on a 2-year deal. My guess, it's a Marcus Mariota contract where it's a 2-year deal with no dead cap in the 2nd year. So it's a 1-year deal with a 1-year club option. And good morning to you as well, Michael Grimmage. Appreciate you coming in, rocking that 21. That's Sanders old school for me. How do you feel about Ritter? I'm still real interested in seeing Desmond Ritter. Looking for him to play. And improve, and I think they're building a team around him that can protect him, where it's not going to be a quarterback-centric offense, Nick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And Zach Schaefer asking about Bradbury, the cornerback James Bradbury, changing his Instagram location in Atlanta. I don't know anything about that. I wouldn't read too much into Instagram, but how would he be if you signed him? It would probably be a short term, and he would help that cornerback room a lot for a season on that opposite side of AJ Terrell. So that would be a good one. Connor B, sorry guys, I'm late. Thoughts on Taylor Heinicke? Talked about it to the top of the show, so make sure you go back. And says this means going to ride Ritter for a year. I think it points more towards Ritter, but I still would not rule out quarterback. I have not seen enough from Ritter. The third round investment's the biggest piece of information we have on him, and that doesn't say that all in. Now, you could go with him this season, but there's an opportunity cost potentially with that. So I would not close the book on any possibilities at quarterback still. Ritter being far and away the most likely, but still other possibilities.
I'm gonna rapid fire through this because we've got to go. We've got to get over to Mile High Huddle. So say goodbye to Nick, and I'm gonna get us out of here. And yes, I think Ritter gets a thing. Michael Corietti says $10 million a year for a tight end too is a bit high. I agree. I think he's going to get a restructure. I really do. I think you'll see that he's got a $6 million dead cap, which is basically a guarantee of $6 million that he's already been paid. The Falcons will say, we'll pay you that $6 million and we'll give you a 2-year deal and a $10 million contract. So now your cap number drops to 5. I think he is a prime candidate for a restructure, or they could just ride it and then they wouldn't owe him anything next year. So we'll see. They'll see where they are. I think you talked about Bradbury with Zach. I didn't see that one. Where do the Falcons rank from 1 to 10 on free agency? I'd give yesterday a 10. The only thing that could have made it better is if Davenport had maybe signed too. You get that edge. And then finally, I'm going to hit Brendan, and then we got to go. Says, hey, Nick and Scott, I think people forget we really don't need an edge anymore in my eyes, at least. We have Lorenzo, D'Angelo, Ebiketie, Grady, Onyemata, Tyquan Graham. Why settle for the third best edge when you can have the first best corner? Because not all number ones are created equally. The third best edge could be better than the first corner. And all of those guys you mentioned so far last year, we had last year in Atlanta. Lorenzo had 4 sacks. I think D'Angelo had 1. Ebiketie had 2.5. Grady led the team with 6. Onyemata had 5 or 6, and Tyquan Graham was injured. Looking across that, the last 3 of those guys are interior alignment, not necessarily not edge. Lorenzo is a rotational level. D'Angelo was a third-round backup level. Ebiketie is a good starter. You still don't have a number 1 starting edge. Still don't have one. That's why you've had 21 sacks last year, 18 the year before. You still don't have, with those 3 guys, Lorenzo, D'Angelo, Ebiketie, you had them last year and couldn't pressure the quarterback. On that note, we got to get out of here. We'll see you over at Mile High Huddle, or we'll see you back here tomorrow morning. Rapid fire, guys. Bonus pod. It's been an exciting 24 hours in the Falcons Nation. We'll see you tomorrow.
Peace.